You have to love yourself enough to let go. Now, obviously, when you hear that, you probably jump towards a relationship or you're thinking about a friendship, but sometimes that can even apply to our own selves. Sometimes that can apply to our old habits or our old ways of living life. Sometimes I think we get too comfortable being where we are and not realizing that we're really bringing our own suffering to our own lives, and we have the ability to change that. In the past, I used to catch myself settling in places out of obligation, like whether in friendships, whether it was just in my old ways, or whether it was just what I was comfortable with. Certain friends just always being there. It made me feel obligated to keep them around, or it's like I felt this like I owed them loyalty. And this can relate even to my video about outgrowing people, but sometimes it gets to a point where it's like I wouldn't be showing love to myself to allow myself to remain in the situation. In some instances, you're going to be disrespecting yourself. In some instances, you're going to be causing your own chaos, causing your own suffering. And, you sometimes have to make that hard decision. Showing love to yourself, showing yourself self-love sometimes comes with you having to make tough decisions that come with tough results. Sometimes that means having to let go of people. Sometimes that means having to sacrifice certain things that you've always had in your life. Sometimes that means having to change something in the way you've always done something. I think a lot of us settle in certain situations out of comfort, out of familiarity, out of that obligation to stay loyal to it. And it really brings us no value to our life. In fact, a lot of the times, if it's meant to be let go of, it's usually bringing more chaos into our life than it is peace. Because as you just kind of grow up in life, things change, people change, situations change, and they aren't always going to remain the same or be as they were. And so in that change, sometimes things no longer are for you, or sometimes things become even better for you. When you recognize things that are just no longer for you, you have to have enough self-love to be willing to let it go. I think a lot of us, we get attached to things so easily, to people, to habits, to ways of living our life. It's no different from growing up and just maturing. Sometimes as you grow, you just let go of certain things because you understand that living that type of life just no longer serves you. It's not a good way to live your life. It brings you nothing. It adds no value to you as a person. And so the same thing with people, as people change, as people start making certain decisions, sometimes people stay the same. Sometimes people aren't willing to let go of their old selves. And so, they might be a 21-year-old with the mindset of a 15-year-old. And, having that in your life sometimes just gets old. And it's like, I love myself too much to have you in my life either holding me back or just bringing all this negativity into my life. Although you've been in my life for so long, I have enough self-respect, I have enough love for myself to remove you or let go of you and allow you to not choose me, allow you to not want to change, allow you to make whatever decision you want, and then make the decision that's best for me based off of that. And I want to bring this back to relationships because I know that's what a lot of you guys click on this for. But even in relationships, sometimes we tolerate so much and we overlook so much in order to keep certain people around. I've done that before, and you more than likely done that before, where you've overlooked red flags. You've allowed people to cross that respect boundary. You've allowed people to not meet your standards or not be the person who you need them to be, and constantly validate their excuses over and over and over again. You're always seeing the good in them rather than the reality of what the situation is. You find all these different ways to keep people around, even if it's bringing you suffering, even if it's bringing you constant chaos. And sometimes you have to get to a point where you love yourself too much to remain in that situation. When I was at my rock bottom point, as I've said in past previous videos, I got to a point where I got tired. Sometimes you have to get to a point where you're tired of constantly giving people chances, constantly waiting for people to change, constantly waiting for people to be a person of their word, constantly waiting for people to grow up and stuff like that. Sometimes you have to get to a point where you get tired of allowing yourself to stay in this situation, or allowing yourself to keep this person in your life and give them excuse after excuse, validation after validation to stay around and stuff like that. You have to get to a point where it's you realize the impact it's having on you and that you deserve better as a person. One of the most important things of knowing your value and knowing your worth is that you understand what you deserve as a person. You understand what you want for yourself. You understand who you want to be, why you're trying to become that person. You understand what you need in your life in order to get you there. And so when people are continuously like holding you back, or they're continuously putting you in this mindset that keeps you from making progress to where you're trying to be, or they seemingly just like bring you down in some way, shape, or form in life. They're just bringing some type of negative to your life more than they are positive. You have to love yourself enough to let go of that situation, even if you still have love for that person. I got love for a lot of people that I haven't talked to in months, and it's not, again, like a thing that's personal. Sometimes it's not even a thing of like you quote unquote did something to me. It's sometimes just like an understanding that you just no longer fit in my life. And I love myself too much to keep you around and like hold me back in a way. Not that you're obligated to grow me as a person or obligated to like give me something. It's just sometimes like being around certain people just like feels like a heavy weight. It either always puts you in a negative mindset, or it's holding you back in some way, shape, or form, whether that person's lazy and their energy is just kind of rubbing off on you in a different way. I love myself too much to allow myself to just normalize that environment or normalize being in the situation as if like I don't want better for myself. I wouldn't be doing myself a favor to just keep you around just because I feel obligated to stay loyal to you. And the same applies to yourself. When you've been living your life a certain way and you've seen the results it gets you, whether that's constantly being surrounded around toxic people, whether that's you not getting the finances you want, whether that's you not getting the grades you want, whether that's not seeing the results you want to see for yourself. Sometimes you have to get to a point where it's like, I'm tired of doing the same old. That could be the time you wake up. That could be just how you're living your life on a day-to-day basis. That could be a habit such as you smoking or you drinking, or you constantly avoiding your problems, or you constantly not speaking up for yourself, or you constantly not validating your own feelings or giving yourself validation for who you are in this moment. Sometimes you have to realize like, I love myself too much to allow myself to remain in the situation, continuously getting the same results over and over that I'm tired of getting, that don't match or align with the results I want to see for myself. And so I love myself too much to stay in the situation to the point that I have to make a change. Like I'm going to make a change for my better because I deserve that better. I don't deserve to remain in this situation that I know I'm capable of getting more out of. Sometimes it takes you feeling the impact of you getting a specific result to actually spark that change and actually spark you wanting to receive better for yourself or get better for yourself. A lot of people don't have motivation until something drastic happens to them that makes them realize like the impact or the negative benefits to their life of remaining in the same spot that they've always been. Some people finally need that wake up call, and that makes them mature, that makes them start taking their life seriously. That's why it's so important that you recognize your own power that you have over your life. There's a lot of things out of our control, but there's also so much that's in our control, such as our habits, such as the choices we decide to make on a daily basis, such as the type of people we decide to surround ourselves around, and us setting our goals and actually taking the action to achieve those goals. All these different things are within our own choices. We have to structure our daily routine to actually help us progress into the person who we ultimately want to be in the end, or the person we're trying to become. But we have to make that choice for ourselves. I think a lot of us wait for life to come to us to the point that we are waiting for an opportunity to present itself. We're waiting for a reason to change. We're waiting for a reason to show us the action or confirm our idea, or like validate us in a way to say, hey, that's a good idea, or hey, that's a good vision for yourself. Sometimes you have to make change within yourself off your own intuition, because you understand that remaining where you are is going to do nothing for you. It provides no value to you. It doesn't help you as a person. And I understand it because it's easier said than done. It's not easy to just create change overnight. It's not easy to just let people go instantly. It's not easy to just forget somebody. And that's why you have to remain consistent. That's also why you have to understand your why behind your decisions. When you leave certain people or you let certain things go because you understand how it's affecting you negatively, that has to remain your why. You have to constantly remind yourself of why you're making the change, why you need to stay consistent, why you're doing what you're doing, regardless of if you feel like going back to your old ways or if you feel like staying in your comfort zone. You have to become clear on that why. I'm I'm leaving this person because they bring more chaos into my life than they do peace. They make me not feel loved. They make me not feel wanted. They make me not feel like I have support around me. Or I'm getting rid of this habit because I understand that it's only making me avoid my problems rather than handle my problems. You know, it's just a coping mechanism rather than the actual solution to the problem itself. Or it's being bad on my health. You know, when you understand the why behind your decisions, you have to allow that to be the reason you make the choices that you make moving forward. And you know, sometimes we're gonna fall back into our old ways, and that's okay. But again, you just have to keep going. Consistency, building better habits. Your habits over time will lead you into who you become. You know, your habits are like it's like a chart. And if you read Atomic Habits, you probably already know this analogy. But you know, where you end up in life is a reflection of the habits and the choices that you continuously stack over and over and over again. So if you're making those choices, eventually, as the days go by, 2 years down the road, you're going to see the impact and the results of you consistently making those choices. But if you consistently decide to remain where you're at, it's flatline. And 2 years down the road, you're going to look back on your life and you're going to be like, I haven't made any progress in the last 2 years. And so that's why it's so important that you make changes within your life and understand why you're making those changes, because you never want to get to a point where it's like you're remaining the same and you're not reaching your own full potential or getting yourself in a situation that you know you deserve better out of. You know, that's going to look different for so many of y'all, because some of y'all need to get tired of being in that relationship. Some of y'all need to get tired of living paycheck to paycheck. Some of y'all need to get tired of your own inconsistency holding you back from your own full potential. Some of y'all need to get tired of being overweight. Like, that's just the reality. As harsh as some of those things may seem, you know, some of y'all need to get tired of constantly depending on other people to validate you. You know, as harsh as that seems, like sometimes that's what you need to hear. Sometimes that's what you have to realize about yourself and where you need to make change, because you can't allow yourself to just remain and normalize those things. I think a lot of us get to a point where we just normalize things and accept them as we are, accept ourselves as who we are, and think that we aren't capable of becoming more. Or we get to a point where it's like we don't feel like going through the challenges or making the mistakes or overcoming the failures of what it takes to become something better than who we are now. You know, in order to improve yourself, it requires you to actually put in effort, put in energy, and want to improve yourself. But I think a lot of us get to a point where it's like we're tired of improving because we don't want to deal with the different feelings and ups and downs of that journey of trying to improve yourself. But again, that's where the love for yourself has to come in, because you have to love yourself enough to not allow yourself to remain the same. You have to love yourself enough to want to reach your full potential, to want you to put yourself in situations you actually deserve, to want to become the person who you ideally want to be, and not just settle for a place that you're capable of getting more out of. But I appreciate you guys for tuning into the video. I hope you learned a thing or two. Be sure to join up on the Discord, as well as sign up for one-on-one coaching down in the description. I'll catch you guys in the next video. Peace.